I think this is a really great sequel. If you like seeing more dishes being thrown on the floor, it's actually
it's a prequel that turns into a sequel.
It turns into a sequel, yeah. Well, it turns into some old nonsense is what it turns into.
I thought it was a sequel to Precious, only because I saw that saucepan fly across the screen. Like, oh, damn, it's Precious Part 2. Until I saw the actual title.
I thought it was just a remake. It seemed like the same fucking movie to me, except maybe the main characters were a little less irritating.
Well, yeah, like I said, you get 50% more cabinet doors slamming shut and opening again. I mean, I don't know. I would say that this is probably, I was with it for a little while. Because I like these kind of movies where, all right, they make really ordinary life seem creepy. They don't use a lot of special effects. It all takes place in a suburban home. It's surrounded by people, so it's not exactly like you're alone, but you can still be in danger. And then the more I watched this, I was like, yeah, but when they make a story about the creepiness of ordinary life, you also have to watch a lot of ordinary people do a lot of ordinary dull things for a long time.
Oh no, you are literally the fly on the wall, and a lot of times that just isn't all that entertaining.
Yeah, that's 45 minutes of absolutely nothing happening, just suburban day-to-day life.
You know what? And I didn't even mind that so much because I mean, I know like for you guys, you're probably going like, man, this one sucked compared to the first one. And I watched this one, I'm like, well, this is everything I saw in the first one, except I kind of like these characters better. I mean, this family, like the actors in it are better, at least at ad-libbing and seeming like a real family. I was kind of interested in what they had going on, their whole dynamic. And then they bring in the supernatural, but they don't just drop it in and let you enjoy it. It's a little bit here. You watch a long scene at night, waiting for a chair to move an inch and have the audience go, oh,
I get that, though. I really do. I understand why the audience is responding to that. I mean, when you were a kid, do you ever remember being those times when you were totally alone in the big empty house and all of a sudden it struck you how goddamn quiet it's been in this house? It's just so quiet, and you start to get fucking freaked out. And you're like, oh, there's nothing to get freaked out. There's nothing to get freaked out. And then maybe the dog moved, and you're like, No. It's a whole movie based on that sort of feel.
Well, you're absolutely right, which was very effective on me when I was 6 years old.
Well, I think that's what works with a movie like that. I think as far as it being like shot just with just a video camera, I think these type of haunted house movies work a lot more effectively than the big Hollywood ones because we're so desensitized and those movies have become so cliche that it's a lot more interesting and there's a lot more atmosphere when you just see a quiet room, and then all of a sudden you see a chair like get knocked over, or you see like cabinet doors open. I mean, the last movie to really do that effectively was Poltergeist.
It was. Well, that's true.
And that was more like that Hollywood type movie. But this is almost that formula where you're like, hey, this is a happy family. This is what they do, suburbia, whatever. Wait, okay, now there's some weird things going on. It's kind of a joke at first. You kind of laugh about it. And I love that the dad does not believe it. He's like,
which the dad is
which is actually the dad's job is to go like, hey, you bitches not.
Yeah, you need to calm down.
Well, before we get into we're describing some of the characters here. So anybody who remembers the last Paranormal Activity, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It's been the movie came out in 2007. It's been 2 years since we've seen it.
Has it been 2 years?
No, I thought it was only.
Well, was it 2009 or was it?
I think it's 2009. Okay. It probably takes them 15 minutes to make one of these movies. So.
When you watch, you're like, man, I feel stupid for not making this movie myself.
Yeah, I thought it was like 2 years ago that we saw it.
No, it's a year.
Let's screw this recording and just go make Paranormal Activity 3. We can probably finish it up before the evening.
Right?
We'd be rich
before we get done with this review.
Wait a minute, no, let me see how much change I can dig from this couch right here. We can go out and make a movie.
We'll make it back, don't worry.
But in that last movie, it was a young couple, Katie and Micah, right? Which is their names, Katie Featherstone and Micah Sloan or something.
Yeah, because they wanted to at least toy with the possibility that someone would be dumb enough to think this was a real story for 2 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. And then, Micah gets a new camera. He's fucking around with it, and just lo and behold, happens to catch some paranormal activity happening. And it leads up. I don't want to ruin the ending for anybody, but it leads up to somebody dying and somebody disappearing. And the police who find the tape, they're thinking like, well, there's a reasonable explanation for this, but we, the audience, knows that a demon was involved. Well, this demon ain't fucking stopped yet. I mean, actually, we get the origin of what's going on here. This is a prequel for most of the movie where we start out with what we think is an entirely new family, but as we learn, they are related. The sister of the girl,
the mom is the sister.
It's a family of a dad, his new wife, their new baby, and the dad's daughter.
And the dog.
And the dog. And the demon.
Yeah, yeah the other cool actor.
One big happy family.
And of course, we cannot forget the Spanish maid, who apparently is a expert in demons and exorcisms and things like that. Like
Don't you know
all
that?
Spanish maids
Yeah,
are.
don't you know that? That's like, yeah.
I
You can Wikipedia just Spanish maid, and that's you'll see that they are all knowing as far as any kind of cucuy or any kind
It's
of.
like I ain't afraid no ghost essay.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Who you gonna call? Mexican maid. Come in, do some Santoria in your house.
I'm calling Anita.
This house is clean.
Completely, yes. Spick and span of dirt, dust, and ghost.
A lot of refried beans too.
But this family, the mom is family is related to Katie from the last movie.
It's their sister.
Yes, they're sisters. And in this house, there's some strange activity happening. And you're right, Leon, man. It's funny because just the dad alone. As of right now, I can't find any listing for these actors. I don't know who they are, so I don't give any names. But whoever this actor is that
Perhaps they're
plays
the real people. And what we saw was real footage.
dun dun dun. No, fucking around.
Yeah. Didn't you see the beginning? Paramount would like to thank the family of the deceased victims in this film for lending this footage to us and profiting off it.
But there are people out there who have doubt, who will be like, I don't know.
It's based on a real
Did
story.
you see that thing in the beginning?
And you know
that Spanish maid.
Yeah.
And you know the family probably would be like, this is insensitive of you to come and ask us for this tape of our deceased role. How much is it?
For less than
Here's
$1 million.
the box office gross from the last movie.
Yeah, how much do we get? Okay, you take everything. The story needs to be told.
I think it's kind of a prequel. It's prequel and it's overlapping the other movie. It's just we're watching their story going on. So, and it's like the last movie, it made clear like something happened in Katie's past when she was a little girl, had to do with ghosts or demons or something. They don't really know or go into
Very
it.
vague.
Something to do with pictures from her past keep showing up that were supposedly destroyed in a fire.
Yeah,
so in this
pictures of them
movie,
as the girl is as a little girl.
Yeah.
So the demon is a pedophile.
well, early on in the film, there's a point where it's like, because she's like, oh, that's a picture of my sister, which is a little girl. That's weird. I didn't even know we had any of those anymore. You're like, okay, well, now you see where this is going. And the point of this film is to provide a tiny bit more of that mythology of what happened.
Backstory.
Really, the tiniest little bit. And that would be okay. I was like, okay, I'm kind of with you on that. That's interesting. But it's such a cop-out the way it decides to transfer the stories together, or not transfer, but to combine them together. I thought it was like, as much as I hated the last 2 seconds of the last film, I really hated the whole last 5 minutes of this one.
Well, this one, it's in the beginning, it really is a lot funnier than the last movie.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, it's
enjoyable.
Yeah,
There's so much
like
more
I said,
pleasant people to watch.
Well, it's because that dad is joking around, and maybe it's just me. I relate to him because when everybody's saying, Dad, honey, there's something going on in his house, and he's just like, will y'all cut it out with this ghost shit? And even there's a point where he takes advantage of it to play practical jokes on the family.
Yeah.
Which is what I would do.
Exactly.
He's an everyday guy. He's any guy that we know. That's how we're gonna react, and especially when people want to blow things up. Where you got your wife who's freaking out because she can't explain, so she's gonna immediately gravitate to ghosts. You're like, okay, you know what? I don't want to be seen around a crazy ass woman.
Exactly.
Just calm that shit down.
As they said in the movie, straight to ghost.
Exactly.
And that was the exact line.
A pot fell.
She went straight to ghost.
Right. The pot fell because a ghost knocked it down, not because you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you don't have the aptitude to hang a pan back on a hook.
What I love is there's a point to like, what about the pole cleaner? It keeps coming out at night. Where do you think that's coming from? And then he shows her, and she's like, I don't appreciate you not supporting me. And you're like, what are you talking about? He just showed that you were full of shit.
I had to roll my eyes at both of them because, at first you're rolling your eyes at the girls in the family because, they're talking about ghosts. And even though we know it's ghosts, our reaction, of course, too, would be like, there's a reasonable explanation for this. But when they start showing the dad, like stuff that cannot be explained, he's still joking around.
Yeah. No, there's a point that you go, a skeptic or not, there's a point when you see some shit and you're like, I know I'm white, but I'm still leaving. That's just ridiculous. Why would you stay in that house after that shit happened?
It's plus like when his wife gets, I don't know, possessed or whatever is happening to her.
Don't spoil it.
God damn it, would you let me talk?
It's too late. He already did. He doesn't understand the concept, I think, is what
believe it's a ghost or not. Oh, you just talked about the pool cleaner, but I'm spoiling shit.
Yes, the pool cleaners in the first 20 minutes. That was like an hour and a half into the film.
Whether you think it's a ghost or not, where you would be like, okay, I don't know what this is, but this bitch is crazy, and I'm going to tie her up with a belt.
Yeah, and then beat her with a sack of oranges. but no, in the last movie, especially Michael with the camera. I mean, he was annoying, and even though we knew that Katie was probably going through some sort of possessions or whatever, she still
PMS.
we were like, she's still coming across like a crazy girlfriend.
Yeah, she's just bipolar.
Yeah,
Even here, I mean, they just have a new baby, so it could easily be explained the wife is having postpartum depression.
Yeah.
Well, except that there's even early on, there's some stuff that happens on security camera that you're like, okay, there is no rational explanation for that. There's nothing. The planet Venus could not have done that. A weather balloon could not have done that. Swamp gas could not have done that. There's just nothing could have done that except for, you have to go like with Sherlock Holmes. When you run out of scientific and rational explanations, then you have to go to the irrational explanation.
It's going. I mean, the pool cleaner just hops out of the water and just starts walking down the street on his own.
A straw hat and a cane.
Held the cab, went over to McDonald's, got something to eat, came on back to the pool, and the dad's looking at it like, well, it's just feisty.
I thought they were doing like a homage to Star Wars because the way that pool cleaner just got up, it started moving away. It reminded me of R2 and on Tatooine. It was like I was waiting for that goofy music. Dun, 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 dun.
And you expect that pool cleaner to do things like.
And why is the pool cleaner going? It keeps saying it's got to find that crazy old man in the desert.
Why is the pool cleaner just quit? He's like,
exactly.
Crazy
You're looking at it and you're like, why is the pool cleaner coming back with dead homeless people? That's something crazy. All that homeless guy is just drunk. Nevertheless, I mean, these kind of things could so easily make this family annoying. And I actually thought that they worked well as a family. They joked around as a family. I liked being around them. I mean,
I thought they were funny. Really good.
Oh yeah, she was.
Yeah, the whole family dynamic, it really did work. I mean, that's the one plus about this film. But I was thinking like how more effective would this film, how this film could have been if it was the first film. Like, if it was actually the first.
That's what I thought too.
Would I enjoy
that's a good point.
Yeah, would I enjoy it way more than the first Paranormal Activity? And I think probably I probably would.
But that's the problem. The problem is that okay, you're right. Absolutely, this is the better film of the two films. I have no question about that for all the reasons we've listed. But you can't do that. You can't say to someone just watch this one because the ending relies on you having seen the first one. And it's like, okay, well, wow. So that whole first movie is pretty much just a prequel. You've got to sit through that.
I think you disagree though.
Yeah, I think you could watch this one.
I just don't think it would happen because you'd be like, wait, what happened?
Well, they explain. I mean, they do thoroughly explain like how to solve the problem. So it's like I really don't think you really need to watch that first one.
I don't know. Without seeing the first one, that end just even with those slight clues, that end just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
If you haven't seen the first one.
When I first started watching this film, at first I thought, okay, I guess maybe this isn't a sequel because this is a whole new family, and I almost didn't even recognize the girl who played Katie until she was in the pool and I saw those double D entity
floating around.
that she had, where I'm like, oh, this is the chick. And then like when the camera moved, you finally saw her boyfriend, and even the director had to go, this is Micah from the first movie, in case you forgot, because he looks like every other motherfucker on the street.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can't miss her.
Well, no, not them.
Notice how the camera stayed on her tits the whole time.
And how she was wearing like really low cut everything. I mean, her breasts were.
See, I think
that was another star in the movie.
Yeah,
and said like, oh, okay, this is the star of this movie.
Well, an important point in this movie is that early on, when they start to experience weird things going on in the home, they think it's a series of break-ins. So they get a security company come in and put cameras all around the house, and that's the gimmick that we get to where we get to see all the quiet times in the home. And it's I mean, some of those things are cool because it does build up the creepiness of the movie when you watch things happening in the middle of the night and you just see a shift in something. But after a while, I feel like you could probably go to 7-Eleven, look at the security monitor there, and kind of see the same thing.
Well, you know, like how in the first
glitches for all you know.
in the first movie, there's a lot of the whole suddenly it's sped up so we can see shit happening because we don't want to sit here for 6 hours waiting for something to happen. And you just felt like you need your own remote for this movie because 90% of it is that. You're just like, will you please fast forward the tape already and make it so we can get to what happened?
Well, hey, even the filmmakers do that several times in this film.
Yeah.
It really doesn't, lend itself to any kind of payoff because, as soon as you start seeing that camera fast forward, I mean, they did it effectively in the first film to where it caught you up to speed and it really moved that story forward. Where this, you're like, okay, this must be the end because when you start seeing that counter go up, some shit's about to hit the fan.
Exactly.
And then you're kind of disappointed because it's like, oh,
no, that was it. Well, in the first film, it served a purpose because they wanted to express like the whole sequence where the girl was just standing beside the bed for like 8 hours, and you're like, okay. I mean, that is kind of creepy. You're like, and you can't obviously get that same effect if you just cut away. And here, it was just like, oh yeah, remember when we did this in the last one?
All it was.
But even so, I wanted to do it through large portions of the movie just because, okay, I get it. Nothing is gonna fucking happen for another half hour. It's just building up the whole, wow, nothing's happened yet. But something's going to.
I think what this keeps coming back around to is the fact that the first one had the gimmick. And then this one is just reusing the same gimmick, so it doesn't work. It's not. It just can't be as effective.
Well,
it's like, wow, I haven't seen this before. It's like, well, I saw this just a year ago. You're not doing anything new with it.
And that's the biggest problem is that it's essentially a remake. It's an improved film in some ways, but it doesn't matter because we've already seen it.
Well, it's a remake, and let's face it, this movie cost about $20 to make. We were joking about this before, and we'd say,
well, the first one cost $10.
Yeah, so and we were talking about like,
double.
Yeah, you know what? Coles was saying, man, this movie's gonna make us money back, and I was joking with y'all saying, well, it's shit. They found a $20 bill in the corner. The movie instantly made some profit.
Yeah. And the producer goes into a screening room and goes like, okay, check. If anybody left their wallet, we made our money.
We got our money. Check the floor.
Well, come on, they'd be able to afford to take about $20. Right?
Yeah, but now it's like they went and they spent some extra money on this one. They bought about 50% more fishing wire so that they could like attach into stuff and make things move.
They're able to buy 2 more pans.
2 more pans and knock it over. I mean, really, I'm looking at this for most of the movie, and I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, I'm enjoying this family, but as far as the supernatural stuff, this is the laziest fucking demon I've ever seen.
That's what I kept thinking.
This demon just sits on a table and just reads a book and just every now and then will shove something over and then later
just close the door and then wait to the end to do everything. I'm like, man, you are not a goal-oriented demon at all.
It's not really evil. He's just kind of a dick.
Yeah, exactly. He just hates kitchen appliances. But maybe he's mad because he can't cook.
He really does pretty much hang out in the kitchen the whole time. He's just like, he must be a big fat demon.
I thought he was just getting pissed off because he couldn't find the fucking Pop-Tarts. I mean,
I've seen you like that.
God, no fucking.
I know he's like,
who's moving this shit? Is it you?
What's all this fucking health cereal shit? Get some goddamn Cocoa Puffs in there.
Where are my Hot Pockets?
And I mean, you're looking at it, it's like, after a while, the demon decides to like, oh, okay, I guess I'll get up and drag a body down the hall or make the baby float, okay, y'all, I'm still here, don't forget me.
Decides to grab that mother and go, you're going to fucking show me where those fucking Pop-Tarts and fucking, bitch, we're going down the stairs. Okay,
yeah. And, and it's things like that really got on my nerves. And this is what really bothered me about the movie. We've seen not only are a lot of the gimmicks in this film repeated from the first movie, but it's also beginning to do what a lot of people are getting really impatient with the found footage type movie. We have really obligatory scenes like what movies have we not seen with this sort of documentary found footage film where people go into a dark room and they have to switch to the infrared.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
the night vision.
Yeah, night vision. And
yeah,
that whole scene didn't work for me at all because I'm like, look, your child's in danger. You're not gonna be fucking around with a camera with night vision. You're gonna be finding a flashlight or a candle or something.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing is just from that angle, so it's a lot of shaking around. And I guess it's supposed to scare you, like, oh, you're there, you really can't see what's happening. But I'm like, no, I'm sitting in the audience. Yeah. I can't tell what's going on. I'm just gonna unplug and wait till you show me the.
No, they were pretty much. I mean, I thought that was just a blatant ripoff of Wreck. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I did too.
All I thought going through my.
And it wasn't even close to as scary.
Someone saw Wreck, and they just figured, well, this is effective. We'll use it in this.
The big problem for me was that, like, before the climax, there was a really genuinely scary bit where you're first, like, you go from, well, maybe the ghost is just fucking around to, oh no, this ghost means business.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, that was a really fucked up, scary sequence. But then you finally get to the big climax, and it was like, wow, that was totally lame as hell. That was like, wait, what happened? You don't even get to see what happened.
Well,
they're like, well, you can kind of hear it going on, and you see some shit vibrating.
Well, the thing is,
Not spoiling anything.
Well,
you don't understand how this works, do you, at all? You just don't get it.
You just tell people that when they get to the end, they can't see what happened.
Yeah, and then I didn't say a thing about what actually happened, did I?
well, the thing is, okay.
You just don't
I'm
understand.
like, all right, I know I ain't gonna be able to see it. I guess I gotta make.
Well, look,
You just don't understand.
Man,
the
you
concept.
were talking to the spoiler, all right?
I know.
It's like that villain who turned evil by having like waste dumped on him, and his mind became corrupted.
Exactly.
He does not know right from wrong now. He's the psychotic of spoiling shit.
He's a sociopath only with spoilers.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor doesn't see a psychiatrist, and right when he walks out of the office,
You
he's
guys
fine.
are the
That doesn't happen.
psychotic. Okay, so in the second scene, oh, dude, you just spoiled the movie. Wait, what?
See, that's what I'm saying. You
I
don't
know who was in it.
By the way,
I'm
I'm
saying
just
you
fucking
don't
with you. I'll pull
understand.
myself out this argument.
Okay, now, well, as far as like the ending, that's the biggest problem because it is a prequel. We know the series of events that are immediately going to happen right after, and that's where when you're watching the movie, you're already working the logic to how like, okay, if this is happening to this family right now before the events take place from the first one, how do the people in the original not know what was going on to begin with? If they're related to the same family, and it's like.
Well, they did explain that. They said that.
Well, no, they do explain it, but still, it does kind of it still kind of ruins the ending.
Well, the ending for me, the biggest problem for the ending in this movie, for me, and I think it's a huge problem, is that in the first movie, whatever happened at the end really caught you off guard. It went by briefly. They show us a little bit too much here. I mean, it's drawn out. It almost turns into like a karate film.
Well, it was a real change in tone.
They show us
everything else, too.
way too much in order to make it scary. Like
it
the
was
last
laughable.
movie, yeah, it was laughable. In the last movie, I mean, when something happens and it's like a split second, you're like, what the fuck, and it's gone. This is like stealth. We're watching a demon creeping around, and it's like, nah, this is you really ruined any kind of creepiness that you could have had here by showing way too much.
It lost its legs, and it kind of loses the whole idea of just being a haunted house film. I mean, it turns into something else, and by the end, you're wondering, okay, well, where do they plan on going with this next?
The only thing
without ruining the whole gimmick of this is a haunted house film with a video camera inside the house.
The only thing they can do next, and it seems to me, it's probably what's going to happen, is do the documentary trick. Oh, well, all this shit's going on, and the maid is saying this shit happened, and all this stuff, so we're sending in a documentary team to find out what happened, and a parapsychologist, and, it'll be Ghost Hunters, the movie.
Right, no.
I guarantee you.
With Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah, with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Or they'll finally do a Blair Witch 2 and, just turn it into a real
and do it right.
A real
cliche film.
A real shitty horror movie.
Real shitty.
I actually hope the next.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Like they'll actually make a real movie, not a documentary.
A real film.
I actually hope the next movie is just like it's the post-apocalyptic and the demons have wiped out most of civilization, and it's just the Mexican maid, like all in leather, and her bike with a bunch of crucifixes and her side.
Tortillas with Jesus' face burger.
Exactly.
Now, all I have to say is like white people. If you have a Mexican maid and she starts using like her cucuy repellent, oh yeah, that means you need to fucking listen up. All right, don't try to pull this shit. Don't go firing her. I was like,
now who's spoiling things?
You need the.
She was trying to help, to be fair.
No, she was trying to help.
I think she should just make the next sequel a comedy. Make it and have the demons. They moved into the neighborhood. They got the people out. They've taken over the house.
Just end it with the Benny Hill theme and them running back and forth.
Ghost Dead Part 2.
Yeah,
Cosby
my neighbors, the demons. I know it sounds like I'm probably giving this movie. I'm leaning towards giving it bullshit, but I really did. I didn't enjoy this movie as a horror movie. I enjoyed it as a comedy.
Me too.
I watched the first, hour of this movie and really laughed hard at what was going on, and it made up for whatever I did not like about the horror aspect of it, which is bad because that's what the whole purpose of the film is. Yeah. But look, and even. I do think that if you watch it at home by yourself, there are moments where if you watch it with the lights out, you'll get creeped out. Somebody like me, I probably would not as much because this is full of cheap scares. Almost everything
Way too many.
is a bump boost type of scare, and that's not me. But hey, look, if you're skittish and you want to be scared by this, rent it. You'll have a good time watching it at home in the dark. It's even creepier by yourself. So that's my rating, a rental.
Well, yeah, you bring up the jump scares, and it was way too many. Like, there's just way too much of it. Like, I was enjoying stuff with the family and laughing, just like you said, and like thinking to myself, you know what? I'm still digging this way better than the first one. But when we get to the parts with the video camera, it was all about watching the screen, waiting for something to happen. A chair moved. Okay, now we're back to the next scene, and it's like I got old after a while. Almost like at first, I mean, it was like odd, then it was funny, then it was just like, all right, I'm just getting tired of this. Yeah, and that bit at the end was just incredibly lame. But at the same time, the first movie for me was a fuck you. This one is just a low rental.
Okay.
If you ever seen those videos on the internet where it's like, oh, you have to stare real closely at this picture to see the hidden thing in it, and so you stare at it for like a minute, and you're like, God, I don't see anything, and then suddenly the big horror face goes, Wah! And you're like, oh, if you think that's like the highest point of our culture, then you should totally see this movie. That's exactly what.
Don't worry, they're coming out.
Because that's what the type of scares are that are here. They're really you are staring, you're looking all around the screen, you're just waiting for something to move, and 99% of the time nothing does. But then when it finally does, you're like, ah! Wait, really? That's it? That's the whole strategy of frightening me that you have? I mean, I kind of like the first one because, like, to some degree anyway, that really hadn't been done yet. I was like, okay, that's neat. I like the whole ghost thing. I get the concept of like where they're pulling this stuff from in ghost folklore, but it's a one-trick pony. You can't ride it twice. You really can't. And this is, even though it is technically better than the first one, there is no going back and doing it again. The best I can give it is a low rental because, come on, guys, just stop it. Stop it. You're unbelievably cheap. It's just, you know what? Make a new movie.
You know what, you saying that, I mean, it really just reinforces my idea of what this movie is, which it is very much a haunted house movie. And I'm talking about, around Halloween when you have all these haunted houses opening. You get a bunch of your friends, you go, it's not real, it's bullshit, you're going to get some shit that you're just going to laugh at, and, your girlfriend's going to scream, and that's kind of the whole enjoyment of the whole experience. And I think this film is very much just like those haunted houses where you see what's coming. I mean, there's no new surprises, and they even got such a simple storyline to where it makes you look at your friend and go, oh, this is what's going on, because in the last movie, I mean, the movie tonight was plagued with people like that in the theater.
True.
And they're having a great time. And you know what? I think I had a great time just being in that environment with all these people watching this movie where I'm like, okay, yeah, this is the exact same movie. Yeah, I like it a little bit better. It's better executed, and I probably would have liked this movie a whole lot more if it had been the first film. But, I mean, I'm giving it a rental, and I say that in a good way because I think if you do watch it with a bunch of friends who are into this type of stuff and want just to be scared, just want to find any excuse just to scream, I think this is the movie for you.
I think you and I on the same page there, yeah.
And but
because I do think it's fun. Yeah, I do think it's fun.
I definitely think it was a fun movie. It didn't have me pissing and groaning at the end.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the last haunted house movie I saw was Haunting in Connecticut.
That was awful.
That was the worst piece of shit. I mean, this is still a masterpiece compared to that.
And you know something? I got to give a movie, even if it does cop out like this, and it is just a movie that's going to make a suck out of a lot of people because it's so cheap to make. But I really do have respect for movies that shy away from the CG for their horror. I mean, I'm so tired of that today.
Well, but this had some.
But you know it worked effectively.
You weren't. Yeah, it wasn't like the first one where the big trick was like, oh come on, that was so obviously CG. Here, what there was of it, you didn't see it. It was like, okay, it was well used.
And then and this is clearly a sequel for the money, I think, for to meet the demand. I mean, if there's a demand out there, they're going to do it. What can I tell you?
It's not like people are making movies for charity.
Yeah, exactly. I made this movie for me.
Are you sure they weren't making it to help out the family, the victims?
Oh, that could have been that. Yeah.
Paramount did say, they'd like to thank everybody.
That could be that, yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the directors there. I mean, the first director of the first film was
Brink's security system.
Yeah. Don's fishing wire and tackle. A guy named Oren Pellin. I'm looking at the name for the sequel, and it's a guy named Todd Williams. So it's not even the same. And the guy who directed the first movie wrote the first movie. I think
he died, right?
And he wrote this. Okay, he did write
By
this.
the demon?
He was murdered.
But before he died, he made this script and sent it off, which he did write the script for this.
It'll be about the death of
Yeah,
the director.
no, he wrote the script for the second one, so he's still involved in some kind of way, but it's a totally different director. I don't know if this was CG or not. I'm not even making a joke here because I think one of the really brilliant actors in this movie was the baby.
Oh yeah,
and I'm being dead serious
But there
because
were points when I could see that the baby was CG.
I have to say
Well,
I have to say that the kid and the dog, those were like those were the two
always
like
steal the show.
The dog was like the other star. I was waiting for the dog to like put on his Ghostbuster outfit and fucking like you take care.
Like that dog busts in.
Him and the Mexican maid. It would have made awesome.
Yeah, because that dog was really protective.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
Well, you know when it's a German Shepherd, you're like, oh, that baby's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
That baby's gonna be
But
fine.
there were
German Shepherd will
moments-
not take any shit from a ghost.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know what they're doing to that baby, but there were moments where you can make a baby cry easy, but like there were scenes when the mom was talking to the baby and that baby was looking over their mom's shoulder like, what the fuck is that? Yeah, just staring.
Well, they probably had some guy with like some baby shit on his
Fucking
stick.
Elmo.
Going, look at this over here.
Oh, there was a guy who really was dressed up like a ghost behind him.
His actual mom was holding her boob out.
Or they probably starved that kid and had like baby food. Like,
Don't feed him yet. He has to follow the thing.
emotes.